I'm John Koon, and this is Vidalia City School News, an inside look at the happenings of the Vidalia City school system. Today, we talk with Lee and Candace Chomskis as they say goodbye to Vidalia High School. Fair warning, this is one of the most emotional interviews that I've done in my 39 years of broadcasting. First of all, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming by and being with us. I know this is a busy time in transition for both of you, but during this time, I know that not only have you tried to stay focused on school stuff, but you got a big day coming up that you want to share with everybody as your daughter gets ready to make a big step.
Yes, she gets married June 13th. No matter what the restrictions are, somebody's going to get married. So we're looking forward to that.
How's this time been for both of y'all? It's been strange for everybody not being in school and not being able to communicate with kids and teachers and others. How's it affected you?
Well, it's been, for someone who's not very emotional, it's been a very emotional roller coaster since January when we announced that we were leaving. And then the pandemic, so about 6 weeks I was by myself during the week with Lee gone, and then the pandemic happens, and then Jacqueline moves in with me. So for about 5 weeks, I have Jacqueline back home with me, and then her fiance would come in, and now they're all back gone again. So it's just been very emotional. But when I realized I wasn't coming back to school to get to see the kids and the faculty, it's just been extremely emotional. And I still have some days, even going by the pharmacy, knowing this might be my last time. So, but I'm just devastated that I can't see the kids. But I'm hoping to maybe get to come back one day, visit, and get a lot of hugs from each one.
Coach, obviously it's been a difficult situation for you. You were able to talk to your players and a lot of the students, but as you move up there and you're trying to get established and get a team and get that team together, as soon as you do, you get separated. How's it been for you trying to form a team and get your coaching staff together in the midst of all this?
Well, I was very fortunate to be there 6 weeks, and that's a tribute to the Vidalia City School system, allowing me to get out of my contract early and go to Lincoln. Not everybody does that. I think Coach Cameron dealt with that same issue, not being released in Savannah. So I was blessed to get 6 weeks with the guys and to get around the faculty and do some things, to be able to do some legwork and get a staff in place. We have every position filled at this point, and very, very fortunate about that. So, it's been stressful, but but I've had it better than a lot of other folks. So I'm just fortunate that I had those 6 weeks.
How's the separation part worked for you guys with you being up there and her being down here? Have you been able to talk with each other every day or every night, or is it like dating all over again?
Yeah, I guess so. No, definitely we talk every night. It's been okay. I'm not going to say any more about that. It's been harder on him, much harder on him, right? Correct?
I'm in the road a good bit, but,
I'm still in my same surroundings, and he's in a little rental. So.
Yeah, I have a bed and a recliner. That's all I have in the house, and it's not a place that I enjoy going home to in the evening. So I stay at school a good bit, or I stay involved in something. My son's there, and we've been able to spend some time. One of the biggest pluses, I think, in this is every Thursday, Will and I go to Augusta and take care of my mother's yard. And we'll cut the grass, we're working on the hedges, we're cleaning up flower beds, we're just trying to get the place back in shape. And that's been really cool to be able to get to do that instead of have to do that. It's just been an opportunity that I didn't have the last 13 years. And Will and I being able to be in the vehicle together and just talking about life in general, or when we get out of the car, we're running and working, and we always eat lunch together that day. So that's been neat too. I've really enjoyed that.
13 years, that's a long time, especially for a head coach to be in one spot nowadays. You, of course, with your math students and the special relationship that you guys have built over the years. What is the motivating factor for you first to want to just start over? You're retired, semi-retired, 49%. What was the motivating factor for you just to want to start over and go to a new program when you really didn't have to do that, but what was the driving force in that?
Well, there were a lot of variables in it. One, I'm someone who enjoys a challenge. And I think that athletically, Lincoln County, there's a great challenge there for the athletic department to try to get that thing turned around. There has been a lot of instability. 4 different baseball coaches in the last 4 years, 4 different track coaches, 4 different girls basketball coaches in the last few years. And so we're trying to find people that are going to come and stay and build stability and consistency with our program there. My mother being 40 miles away, my son being there and being able to work with him. There were a lot of factors in it. But I think the challenge itself, just being able to see if I could do it, to go to a place that has such a history and legacy of success because of Larry Campbell and what he was able to build in those years, is certainly a great challenge. And my friendship with Coach Campbell was a major factor in this decision as well.
You were retiring after 30 years. I know that was probably a tough decision for you also. What are you looking forward to? Are you going to try to get back in it at some point?
Yes, if Lincoln County has a part-time position, 49%, I will pursue that for sure.
After 30 years, what's your motivating factor to stay in the education industry when so many, after they get to retirement, they just said, I've had enough? What motivates you to do that, to keep going?
Well, I've been blessed here at Vidalia to teach some awesome kids, and I have just thoroughly enjoyed the last few years. I've always enjoyed it, but after my children left, I've just enjoyed staying in it and being around these kids and just had a ball. So why stop now? I enjoy it. I love going and being with the kids. Education,
obviously, over 30 years has changed in both of your lives, in the way that you do things and how it is presented. Even now during this pandemic, Candace, the way that you teach had to change a little bit. Do you see that the kids were adapting to that a little bit better than they were to start with? And could that be, something we see later on down the line?
I definitely think we're going to see it, maybe in the capacity of if a student does have to be out, they can continue working with us online while kids are in class. I know we'll be prepared to go online probably at any time. I did find that the students, they adapted. I think they will adapt more if they know that they have to.
You teach AP, so do you find that your kids are more engaged? Do you find that your students are more engaged during this time than you thought they would be, with not really, knowing what would happen?
Yes, I did have a high percentage to be involved, and a few that I reached out to that never got involved, it was because they did not have internet access. So it just shows that it's going to be hard to reach every student until everyone can get internet.
As we start to move into the next school year, what are you looking forward to, Lee? Not only the challenge, I know, of a new football program, but what are you looking forward to? You'll be in your 32nd year of education, so what do you look forward to?
I think Candace said it best. It's just the kids, being around the young people and building relationships, trying to establish a thought process, a direction, and getting those kids to buy into that. That's something that brings me great joy, and that's the biggest part of the challenge. And I think it becomes more and more challenging in these days than it was 30 years ago when I got in, just because there's so many other things out there tugging at them. I think this pandemic has really drawn a line, and what I mean by that is I think you're really going to see who were the self-motivated and who weren't. You watch that documentary of Michael Jordan and the Bulls. He was one of very few that was motivated on his own, that he found a way to drive himself to be great, even when circumstances around him weren't. And I think that we're going to really see is going to be a small pool of people who are motivated to continue to work, to continue to drive, to continue to pursue excellence in this period where we're basically our government, I feel like, and our country is falling into a line of laziness. I mean, I think we're promoting laziness at this point. But I think just the challenge of being with the kids and the opportunity to serve in that capacity is what drives me.
13 years, we look back, a lot of success in the football program, a lot of success in the classroom. I'm not going to ask you to name one thing, but if you can think back to a couple things that you have really just beam over and just super proud of in when you've been here and what you've done here, what are some things that come back to your mind? I'll let you go first, Candace.
Of course, I love data, so when test scores would come in, I always got very excited because you could always see the growth in so many students that you weren't real sure of could. Of course, when I received two of my students have received 100s on the test. That was a great moment that I always like, okay, then obviously maybe we're doing something right in the classroom. And so I always just loved test scores.
Same for you. I can probably answer it for you, but go ahead. What are the couple things that really just stood out for you?
One of the things that I'm most proud of is the creation of our junior leadership program that we had here. I really felt like in the latter years we were really making a lot of headway, that we were making a difference. The kids were really buying in to what Britt McDade was bringing to the table and what we were doing one day a week during football season with our juniors. A second thing that really stands out to me that I'm very proud of is the number of young men that I coached here that came back to be in education here in their hometown. Grady Hart, Parker Fletcher, Chris Hamilton, David McLeod. Those guys were on teams that we coached here, and most of them were in our first 4 years. And 2 of those years were very, very tough. And they all chose to come back and pour into their community and to pour into lives and to make people better. And that's exciting to me.
This is the tough part. Relationships are huge in any part of your life and in any business, but you guys have formed some great relationships since you've been here 13 years, and one of those is mine and my family. And I'm going to give you a chance to tell us what those relationships that you've made over the years have meant to y'all, and a chance to say a so long, if you will. We're not going to say goodbye, but a so long to some people that you haven't been able to simply because of the way that this has been going.
I have to go first. Well, here in Vidalia, I have formed what's called a sisterhood, and those are some of my closest friends, and I met them when I was at JR Trip, when we first got here. And of course, I know I'll always get to see them. So we've lived in, 6 different towns, and this is where I probably have formed the best friendships that I have. And so to the faculty, just the chance to not get to see them. I do have had a chance to see the math department, and we have a running text, and I told them that I will stay in this text even when I move. But I tell you, we have the best time in the math department, so I'm thoroughly going to miss them. And just when they watch this, they'll know what I'm talking about. Just the funny times that we've had. Of course, my students in the class of 2020, I've taught some of them 5 different math courses. I taught them in the 8th grade. When we started back the algebra 1 in 8th grade, they came over here, and I just always treated them like my little children. And we always laughed about they're going to retire, or they're going to graduate, and I'm going to retire in the same year. And so just the thought that I don't get to see all them and hug on them, but hopefully maybe a graduation. The administration, Mr. Sharp and Mr. Wilcox, have been just phenomenal in believing in me and trusting my opinion, and they're just always so supportive. I'm going to miss that. My Sunday school class, my church, I just adore my Sunday school class. They've been so just great. So I shout out to all of them. I don't want to say any specific names because I know I'll leave someone out and I will just feel awful about that. And so just to the community, like I said, the pharmacy, running through other places that I know them very well. And but I have family here, And so I know we'll be back visiting. I told Lee, I said, now we used to come back for Christmas, and you're always like, what am I going to do in Hazelhurst? I'm like, now you've got all your buddies. You can go play golf. You've got a slew of friends now you can go visit. So that's going to be great now that he'll have something to do when we come back home for the holidays. But I know I'm going to be back, and I know I'm going to get to see a lot of people. But just to everyone, I appreciate everything, the love, the support. And I want to thank everyone. And I would cry, but I'm supposed to be crying right now, and that's why I don't cry, because I'm crazy like that.
It's probably better that you're not.
I don't want them to think that I'm not emotional. I'm very emotional. I've been crying since January, but now that I'm holding strong.
Well, it's probably better you're not, because your host would be also. Your turn. That's all I can say is your turn.
Well, and she has poured tears over and over. She has been very emotional in this, and I think the quick change really added a lot of emotion to it, just not being able to get her hands on the kids and saying goodbye to the faculty. You usually get that day that you can at least hug next. I will mention some names. I know I'm going to miss some people, but first and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Smith and Mitch Harrington for taking a chance on me when no one else would. When no one else would give me a chance to come and be a head coach, and I had applied in a lot of places. And they stuck their neck out, and it was rough early, but they stayed behind me and gave me a grand opportunity. I want to thank Dr. Wilcox for the support that he has given me, and Mr. Sharp since they've been here and been our leaders. Been very, very fortunate to have such great leadership here in Vidalia. I think my Uncle Dan told me years ago that you're only as good as your principal wants you to be. If your principal wants to win, then you will. And Mr. Sharp wants to win in everything. He wants to win academically, and he wants to win athletically. He wants to win in the arts. And I think Vidalia has done that. And I think a lot of that is a tribute to his leadership and his vision, his guidance. How many guys have a superintendent that you feel comfortable picking up the phone and just calling and talking to as a friend? Doesn't happen very often, I don't think. It's never happened to me. And I'm not an easy guy to be a friend with, so I get that. I really have appreciated and treasured those relationships. When I got the job, how many guys get a job and there's a chaplain here named Bucky Kennedy, who's a preacher at First Baptist Church, who had been the chaplain and just offered his services to be a part of our program. What an incredible blessing to me as the new head coach to have that kind of wisdom standing right beside you. Incredible blessing for me. I don't know that I would have survived had I not had somebody like that around me. You talk about first class. Well, it takes a lot of people to make things first class, and yourself being at the radio station, and all of a sudden we were able to get you here. Things worked itself out, and you start doing our games, and an incredible friendship was formed, and just very, very fortunate to have had that happen. The hours that people don't see when ball games are over and we're cutting the film on, and it's time to assess. It's time to sit down and see where we can get better and how we can improve. And most folks are gone, and that's okay. They did their work and they chose their time, but you stayed right there with me, and you would do your bit for the radio and your report of the game and your write-up and all the things that you had to do. And we're sitting there watching film together, and I got to where I treasured that time, and I really appreciate your friendship and your family, that the closeness that we've had, and getting to know not only your wife, but your lovely daughters and their children. It's been incredible. Being able to coach with the staff that I had, and I inherit everybody here. I brought two with me, and everybody else was already here, and every one of those men were good men. They weren't watchers, and I think you know what I mean by that. They weren't concerned about the clock, and those who were eventually moved on and went somewhere else. But the nucleus of the guys that I inherited, they stayed with us, and just were as loyal to me and as hardworking for me as any group I'll ever be around. I enjoyed their families. I enjoyed their wives. Their wives bought in, and we had a pretty good family thing going on. We're just very blessed. That doesn't happen everywhere. That's a challenge for me in Lincoln, and to try to cultivate that and to help get that going. And I'll need her to help me in that endeavor. But I could go on and on about all the people that I'm going to miss. The faculty just embraced me and allowed. They trusted me. And that doesn't happen everywhere. That when you come in and you say, "Hey, I'll help you with discipline. Just give me a chance." And I didn't all the time. It didn't always get fixed, but they trusted me to try, and they gave me that opportunity. One of the people, there's two ladies that I'm certainly going to mention, and one of the first people that just touched my heart was Miss Phyllis James. One, I'm a guy that I like folks who are direct. I like folks who they're not going to pull any punches. They're going to tell you how they feel. I like dealing with people like that because I know where I stand, and I'm very much like that to a fault. Miss James just won my heart because that's who she is. But if you don't know her, she's got a heart of gold. She loves these kids, and I'm going to miss her. Vidalia's been very blessed to have her in this building as long as they have. And Miss Wyndham was a neat relationship for me, simply because her father was at the very first school where I worked, at Hepzibah High School, and he's a legend there, Big John. And Miss Wyndham and I struck up a little bit of a relationship there simply because of that tie with her father. I always had a great deal of respect for him. My father, who I had a zero relationship with, my mother shared, she said that anytime he went somewhere, he was in the military, he made sure that he knew the supply sergeant and the cook. He said if he didn't build a relationship with anybody, he was going to do that. And I took that little nugget my mom shared with me. I thought there's some wisdom in that. And I've always wanted to build a relationship with the cafeteria and the custodial staff, the people that serve you in such a selfless way. And I am going to miss the people in the cafeteria. They've been so good to us, feeding our kids. Miss Teresa when I first got here, and then the list goes on. All the ladies, Miss Johnson in there, just people that have loved on me and lifted me up. Miss Johnson with kind words as I'd come through if it had been a tough week or whatever it may be. Mr. Dwayne, I mean, what a selfless individual. I used to use him as an example with our kids. You want to know how to serve? Go watch Mr. Dwayne. Never hear him bellyache, never hear him complain. He just shows up and gets it done and takes great pride in what he does. That's why this place is what it is. You have a lot of people in this building that take a great deal of pride in what they do and how they do it. I think every one of our athletic programs here has a leadership that takes great pride. They take it personal, and they want it to be the best. And when you're around that kind of atmosphere, what a challenge. It's a challenge for you on a daily basis to be that same kind of guy, to step up to the plate and try to answer the bell each day and come in here and roll your sleeves up and go to work and make it a better place. So I could go on and on. You talk about support staff, Miss Howard. She's just been dear to me. She's prayed for me. She has had kind words to lift me up, and she has also been an advocate for me in the community. She was able to maybe share with some people, hey, you don't know what goes on up there quite as much. Eddie Lee, God almighty, what a great friend he has become. I love Eddie, and he has gone above and beyond to try to help me be successful. And so thank you to everyone. It's just been a wonderful 13 years. It's been a blessing beyond compare, and we were very fortunate to be a part of this community. First Baptist Church, what a wonderful church family. My Sunday school class. How many people get to have a personal relationship with the Booster Club president? It's not a business relationship. Now, it starts that way, but as time went on, Darren McClellan became a dear friend. I mean, a dear friend. And that just doesn't happen everywhere. And so very fortunate in that. And I just thank y'all for this opportunity to say goodbye. And we'll miss you.
No doubt, we're going to miss you guys. 13 years of loyalty, friendship. The way that you guys affected young people is the best thing that ever came out of this. And you'll never know until later on the way that you affected people. I knew this was going to happen because you don't spend the time together with people and not get emotional when that period in your life ends. But from our hearts to you, thank you for what you've done for Vidalia. Thank you for what you've done for my family. We love you. We're going to miss you. And I hope that you have as much success or even more in Lincoln County. And we just wish you Godspeed. And thanks for taking time to come by and babble here at the end. And just know we love you and we're always here for you. Thank you.
Thank you.